go in here. Oh my gosh, I think we're live. Hi guys, I'm testing this new setup. So I'm just gonna go and see if this is actually working. Hello, if you're joining live. Hi. If you can hear me, drop me some love in the comments because I'm literally not even sure. It's just like, okay, we are live. Yay! Ah! Okay. So, I am so excited. This is my first Facebook Live in this group. Oh my God, you guys. And how are you doing? So, I wanted to come on and share with you a little bit of what I did in order to overcome the fear of exposing your truth, because I know you guys are here because you joined the challenge, the 30-day Expose Your Truth challenge. And some of you have been asking some questions like, there's some real stuff going on, like how can I post something that is not going to trigger my family members, that is not going to make them feel a certain way? We're in such a good place after like so long. So all those questions that I'm having, I just want to like do a Facebook Live to answer some of your questions. And if there's anything that comes up, drop it in the comments, because there were some really good questions asked today. I see that you guys are here. So can you hear me? I see 3 people on here. So tell me something, because this is a new setup and I don't know if it's going to work. So give me some love or give me an emoji if you can hear me. Okay. So a couple of things that I want to do today is I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the ladies who have joined. I mean, there are guys and girls here. So I love that this group is all inclusive, and I'm so excited for the guys to also implement this stuff, because I think men can also be more vulnerable in their marketing, right? So let's see who I wanted to give a shout out to. Let's see. Okay, so Therese. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Tarlise? She did her first announcement for, like the announcement post, like day 0 out of 30. And it seems like people were loving it. So I really want to give you a shout out, and I want you guys to share your posts in here, because like in the group, because then everybody can see how everybody else is doing it and you can get some inspiration. Okay. Wait, I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Hey Jacob, can you hear me?
I'm checking.
Okay. I can't see any comments, so I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yep.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we are live. This is working. Okay. I also wanted to give a shout out to Ashley. Ashley is totally rocking it. And Jane, thank you so much for letting me know that the prompt on day 15 was a repeat. So in case you didn't notice, the prompt of day 15 is repeated on the first guide. So I sent another email with a new prompt so that you guys can use it whenever you're ready. Okay, so a couple of things on fears, on how to overcome the fears of exposing your truth. So the first thing, you guys, I remember when I first decided to do this, I had more fear about like what I was going to say than anything else. I was like, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? And what are people going to think? So I want to know if those are the fears that you guys have, because I just want to let you know, like, some of those fears never go away. And I've said this before, but I want to say it again. That is something that is always going to be there. That tingle in your stomach when you feel like, oh my gosh, like, what are people going to think? There's always going to be there. But if you implement the guidelines that I give you in the guide, where, you come from a place of power, you don't come from a place of victimhood, where you really open up and you share powerfully without, throwing blame around or anything like that, people are going to receive that so much better. So, for example, I was afraid of what my family was going to say. And, hi. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I was really afraid of what my family was going to say. And honestly, I feel like my family has actually been following me, and they're so proud of me. And even my dad, like, I have made some crazy, like, not crazy posts, but I've told the truth about, my dad wanted my mom to have an abortion before I was born. And I've even said that publicly, and that's like intense stuff to share, and my dad's following me. And, honestly, he's so proud of me that I'm like speaking up, and he loves that, like, I'm showing up as a leader. And we're not really close, but I think that he sees me as kind of just being liberated and really owning and being in my power. And these are all mistakes that we have made, but I think the important part is that you know that if you talk to the person, like to the family member, whatever, whoever it is that you're talking about, I feel like if you have had a conversation with them that's healing, it's really going to make it easier for you to be in your power when you share. So for example, like I shared after the Expose Your Truth Challenge, I share how I had a business partnership that didn't go so well. And it was really healing for me to tell that story, because I even looking back as I was reading this post, writing that post, I just got to learn some lessons about that experience. So what you will find when with this Expose Your Truth Challenge is that you're going to be like healing. You're going to be healing some shit. You're going to be looking back and digging in your past sometimes and looking at the stories that really marked you. And there's going to be some healing as you write. Like for me, writing is super healing. And this brings me to a point that a lot of people ask me often when they meet me in person, and they're like, Juliana, your posts are so good, but does it feel easy for you to write like every time? And honestly, the truth is that it's not as easy as people think. Like it's not flowy and effortless, because as I write, sometimes it's really easy, like super easy. But sometimes when I'm writing something really powerful, I literally like have to sit and like journal on this stuff, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm really speaking up. I'm really speaking my truth here, and I'm healing some stuff that maybe I haven't really looked at before. So sometimes it's like excruciating. I'm like, oh my gosh, why haven't I looked at this before? And sometimes I'm literally like, nobody can stop me from writing, right? And so I want to give you permission to know, like just to let your journey unfold as it needs to unfold without thinking that it has to look a certain way. Okay? This is so important, because a lot of the times we think that, well, because this other coach or this other leader writes so beautifully, like I have no chance. I have no chance of writing like them. Like I look up at some people that are amazing at writing their stories, and I'm like, how do they do it every single day so consistently, you know? And I compare myself, you know, and I bet that sometimes you've had that experience maybe with me or with other people that you look up to online. And here's the thing, that my journey looks different than yours. And you don't know behind the scenes what it feels like to write some stuff, right? To write some of these posts. But what I can tell you is that the more that you do it, the easier it gets. The easier it gets to just like follow that intuition of what you want to say and naturally be able to articulate it. Sure, it takes some practice, and I have studied copywriting for so many years, but this challenge helped me unlock the ability to just follow that intuition and just to articulate my thoughts. You guys, I remember when I was like in 2012, I was living in the UK. I think I was like 23 years old. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I really wish I could articulate my ideas clearly and concisely like I see some people do it. And for me, it was hard to communicate with other people, like communicate my ideas and my feelings. Like it was hard, and I never saw myself as like a really great communicator. It was actually something that I thought that it was really hard to do. And like I want you to see me not as, oh my gosh, she's always been that way, but I've gone from like desiring to one day be a great communicator to being an excellent communicator, but it didn't happen overnight. You're probably joining this Facebook Live or this challenge and you see me as like, oh my gosh, she's just so good. But it took some work. It took some practice. And so I want to give you permission to know that even if you're just starting out, or even if you have been writing content for a long time and you want to get better, like great, continue writing, continue being a creator, because when we as entrepreneurs, that's our job. Our job is to create content that is going to pull people in. Like every single entrepreneur, every single business that you see out there, they're creating content to be able to pull their soul tribe in. That is just part of what we get good at, right? But it's not always been this easy for me. So this challenge is really, really going to help you unlock that. And don't compare yourself to others that maybe are doing it great or that you think that are better than you. Like let that out the window, because otherwise you're never going to get started, and there's always going to be someone doing it better than you. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna check some comments. Hey, I think that's how I would love to say it. Okay, what's this comment over here? Look at how I can add comments on this screen. Isn't this cool? I think that's how I would love to say it. Oh my gosh, I can't see your names though. This is so weird. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one from here. This is so cool. Okay, cool. So a couple more things I wanted to share with you. In terms of where you can share this, because I know a lot of you, a couple of people were asking, should I do videos or should I only do posts? So do videos if you want, do posts if you want, do whatever you want. There are no rules. The point here is that you explore how it feels like to create content in different ways. So if you want to do a post and then the other day do a live because it just feels better, like maybe it suits better for the story, or maybe if it's an educational post and you just really want to give people some like pointers, do that. Do a video if you want. So you can do a mix of content. For me, I just really wanted to do like a series of posts. That has been really helpful for me because I've been able to repurpose that content in different Facebook groups. And now I have like 350 pages of content, and I always go back to it. Like I have my assistant take that content and then repurpose it in different places. So it's really great for me to have the written content first, and then I can go back and look at what posts perform really well, and then I can do a live on that. So it just depends what you want to do. You can just write the post and then do a Facebook Live the day after. Who says that you can't do that, right? Like it's just about creating consistency. Okay, I see some comments here. I haven't started it and I would like to hear more of elegant vulnerability. Ooh, okay. Yes, elegant vulnerability. So I'll definitely share more about that. Let me just give you one more tip in terms of where to distribute this content, and then I'll get into elegant vulnerability. Okay, so where to distribute this content. So another question was, do I start on my business page? If I have a business page, a personal page, and a group, where do I start? So I had all of those before when I started, but I just focused on my personal page because that's where I had most of my people. And that's where I like really wanted to create more connection, right? So, and then I think like maybe on day 10, I had my assistant start reposting some posts in different Facebook groups. So I just did personal page and then Facebook groups, and I just started growing my audience like that. I would recommend that you do your personal page if that's where you have most of your people, or a Facebook group if that's where you have most people. I think business pages, you don't really get a lot of reach on your business page. So I would just start with, just to keep things simple for you so you don't have to be like copy pasting 3 times a day. I would just start with 1 or 2 places, right? And I would just do that just for the sake of simplicity, right? Like you can do whatever you want, but I just started on 1 place. You can do 2 at a time. I think 3, you run the risk of having people see the same post every single day 3 times. So I don't know about that. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Okay. Great idea for groups. I love it. Yes. Okay. So that's how I grew my audience. Well, there are many ways that I grew my audience, but one of the things that I did is I used these posts to share in the Facebook groups that I really loved and wanted to build more relationships. And then people, obviously, they add you. And then obviously from there, you get to decide how you want to start that conversation. And then there's like, I have a whole sales process for how I do lead generation in Facebook groups, and I create really good relationships, and I have like a whole system that I call my messenger funnel, and it's all organic. But you get to decide. That's not what we're going to do in this challenge. I think the intention is just to create more content consistently. I do have a program that I'm going to be launching in a couple of months where I'm going to be giving all of those. I'm going to be teaching all my like sales strategies and how I organize myself and all of that. So I'm doing both personal and Facebook group. Oh, an email list. Such a perfect timing. Everything needed. Yeah, everything needed a reboot. Awesome. This is so good. Like, I think somebody sharing the group that you can actually repurpose the announcement post and share it to your list. I think it was Greg. Is that Greg? I can't really see who this is, but this is a great comment. I'm gonna add it to the broadcast. So cool. I think Greg said that. That he was. Oh, who else was it? I don't know. But great idea. Just use the announcement post and send it to your list because, you want to just re-engage them. So cool. So great suggestion. All right. And let's see if you guys drop any questions that you have. So let me talk about elegant vulnerability. So that's a concept that I came up with as I was creating content. And this really came from my understanding of human psychology and sales and marketing and positioning and authority and being a leader in your space. Because that is something that I did learn before when I was doing product launches for some of the top coaches and speakers in the personal development space. There was a lot of that positioning, right? But I blended it in with the vulnerability of really, like when you tell a story, I remember thinking, well, I'm not a victim of my past. I'm not a victim of my past, right? I think that's where it all came. That I always show up, like I am vulnerable in my shares, and you guys, you see my content and a lot of people like my content, but it's because I am vulnerable in my shares, but I always make sure that I remember that I'm not a victim of my past and that I get to be a victor of whatever happened in the past. And I'm very real about what I share. And I share the lessons instead of saying like it was that person's fault, or instead of saying, maybe even if I'm going through something right now, like doing it for the sake of validation, which sometimes, like, validation is one of my secret, like, drug, what is it you say? Like a secret drug of choice. I think as human beings, we love being validated. And when we have something to say that we feel like we're being victimized, or we feel like we're going through, we want to share with the world so that we don't feel alone, right? And that's just like a natural human response. So that's okay, but maybe it's not relevant for your audience, for them to, or it's important that you notice how you're sharing it, because if you share from a place of like, oh my God, like I am in, I'm desperate in this way, or this isn't working, and then you're just kind of spewing all your problems on Facebook, you are going to get lots of likes and comments. You are going to get a lot of engagement, probably. People are going to stop and they're going to read, but they're not going to buy from you because you're not showing up as a leader who understands that you're not the victim of your circumstances, and there's always a lesson to be learned, right? It's much easier to be a victim. It's much easier to show up and say, this is not my fault, I can't believe this is happening to me, or whatever. But it's much harder to look at your current circumstances and say, I'm learning so much from this. Don't learn from my mistakes. This is what I'm learning as I'm going, right? So I think it's just checking with yourself. Am I coming from a place of power? Am I coming from a place of victimhood? What are the lessons that I get to share with my audience? And just know that there's no pressure to share anything that's going on in your personal life, because a lot of the times, I don't know where this started, but a lot of coaches say share whatever is really real for you right now. And I appreciate the desire of vulnerability, but at the same time, sometimes we haven't healed that yet, right? And sometimes we're in an emotional state, and then that comes across in a way that maybe we didn't mean, or that the next day we're like, oh, that actually didn't land the way that I felt it, or oh, I slept on it and now I feel better. And then we're like, oh, I kind of wish I didn't share that, right? So just know that there is no pressure to be vulnerable online. If you're going through something really intense, you can go through that, and you don't have to be, sharing everything with everyone. You have your personal life. And as I like to say, I like to think of my business as my business is an entity and I am a different entity. Like me and my business, we are not the same thing. We are my business is a living and breathing organism that's over here, and that requires love, attention, and I need to give it what it needs, right? But I can't ask my business to always be to provide for me, to be like my therapist, to be my provider for all the things. Like I have to really give my business the time and space to breathe. And sometimes I have to remove my emotional state to really give my business what it requires. Like it requires things to thrive. It requires time. It requires nourishment, right? It's like, imagine your business as if it was a baby, right? You have to give your baby time, love, and attention for it to grow and become an adult, right? You can't ask your baby to be like a parent, to be a baby, to be your support system, to be everything, right? You have to give it time. So I like to think of like my identity is different from my business identity, and I get to choose what I share and what I don't share. There's no pressure to like say everything if you don't really feel like it, okay? All right, so I'm gonna look at some comments. I did Bridget, Greg is doing as well. Okay, hi Bridget, I just can't see you. I can't see anyone's faces, so sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to read this. I always said I am not living from that place anymore, so it's not relevant, which was just a way I kept up my walls. I am not living from that place anymore, so it's not relevant, which is, yeah, so it's, yes, I totally get what you're saying about like keeping the walls up, and this is an opportunity with the Expose Your Truth Challenge to really take the walls down and really own your story, right? You're not a victim of your past. You are a victor of what's happening in your life. And there's nothing, and like the invitation is that you reveal those parts of you and you share, hey, like, life has not been easy. Like this isn't, you probably don't know this about me, but this is what really went on. And these are the lessons that I have learned. And I really want to inspire you for you to stand up in your power and look at this part of your life and learn lessons that maybe you haven't seen before. Do you see the difference in that? Like owning your story, owning your past, and like really peeling out the layers and being vulnerable in sharing what's really real for you, and giving people something to chew on for themselves, something for them to reflect on. That's super powerful. When you write content that gives people an insight, it becomes like your content will become like addictive because the brain loves insights. The brain loves to feel like it's gaining, is winning, it's learning, it's like getting to a new place. And so when you give people insights, like you're giving an instant hit of feel good vibes, right? And so that's why it's important to give that's like the psychology, the human psychology side of things that I'm like sharing with you now, that now looking back, I understand why it worked so well for me, because I wanted to teach people what I had learned before. It wasn't like a strategic way, like, ooh, let me plan this. But I was just like speaking my truth, standing in my power, and then sharing the lessons. And then I look back and I'm like, oh, well, that is a human psychology principle, right? But it just kind of happened naturally. But just by standing in my power and just sharing with people, like, I felt so unseen, you guys. Like, I remember feeling like I just don't think people really know me, and people have so many assumptions of who I am, or they see me and they think this about me, and it's not fucking true. Like, I have gone through so much, and I have so much that I want to share with the world, and I just feel like they didn't know it. And then I look and I was like, well, they don't know it because I haven't taken the time to tell them. I was like, I gotta tell people that I am an epic human, right? And you are all epic humans. And we all have gone through so much. Like, I just read Bridget's story, and I'm like, girl, if I look at your profile pictures, you look like you're so beautiful, so perfect, and so in your power. And then reading your day one post, I'm like, wow, I relate to you so much, because my childhood I didn't have a childhood. Like, I can't, I relate to that. So it's so beautiful, right? Because we will just get to connect with each other's sides that are maybe not as obvious. But it is really a reminder that people don't know your story until you tell your story, right? And you will feel seen once you let yourself be seen. Okay. So good. Alrighty. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. This was so much fun. My high school friend is about to come, and I think she's actually here. So I have a friend from high school coming. I've had 2 friends from high school coming in the past 3 weeks. It's so crazy, right? Like, I went to high school in Colombia, and they're like flying over here, and we're just catching up. It's so crazy. Alrighty, so if you guys have no more questions, I'm gonna let you all go. Let me know if you want to, if you have any more questions about copy, any more questions about like any fears that you have, or any like technical questions about where to post, whatever that looks like. Let me know. I am here for you, and I wanted to let you know that I am starting the Expose Your Truth, well, Exposed, Six-Figure Exposed series where I'm interviewing 7 experts who are some of my best friends and amazing coaches that I just love in the online space because they really show up boldly. They have really shown up doing things their own way. And so I just wanted to bring them on and I wanted to share their wisdom with you guys because I want you guys to learn so much from people who have really owned who they are and have created amazing success in their lives. So the interview series starts this Thursday, and this Thursday, we are going to be talking about, I'm going to be interviewing Ashley Kirkwood, and we're going to be telling you guys all the secrets that are going to help you protect yourself from clients that don't want to pay you, because honestly, part of creating an epic business online is, you know, taking care of your contracts. And I had an episode with a client last year where they didn't honor their commitments to their contracts, and luckily I had a really good contract, but I realized after talking to some clients and people that have been, that have been signing up with me, they looked at my contract and they were like, oh my gosh, I really love it. And I've had these many people not pay me and I don't know, all these things. So we're going to talk about things like that, like how to protect yourself with your contract so that you don't get conned. That's the title. And, we're going to be talking about how to get yourself on PR, because that's part of getting more exposure and exposing more of yourself is how to get more people to see you. She's an expert in law. She's an attorney. And then she also runs this workshop called Speak Your Way to Cash. So I'm going to ask her all the questions because I want to know how to get myself on PR. I have questions for her. So you guys are more than welcome to join. Make sure that you join live is going to be on Thursday at 12 p.m. Central. And if you can join live, give me the questions. What do you want to know? What do you want me to ask her? I'm all for asking all the questions. So that one's going to be super informative. Alrighty. So I'm going to read one more question. It says, what have you been sharing your truth? How can we share in a new way that gets you to the level that... Okay, wait, let me just read this again. What if you've been sharing your truth? How can we share in a way that gets you to the level you get to insight? I'm not sure if I understand your question. How can you get to do it in a way that gives insight? Well, I think the way that I get to give insight is... She's here? Okay, my friend's here, so I have to go, but I'll answer this now. One of the ways that you get to a level of insight is by reflecting, what is the gift in the shed? What is the gift in the things that I have been afraid to share? What is the gift in all of this, right? And if you're talking about myths and truths, I think that's a perfect way, myths and truths and misconceptions in your industry. I think it's such a good way to kind of start speaking your truth, and then to give people an insight, you tell people what do you stand for, right? And why? Why do you think is a better approach than what you see most people do in the industry? Does that make sense? So giving an insight is giving people something that they can walk away with feeling like they learned something, right? Something for them to think about. And it doesn't have to be a bunch of content or a huge educational lesson. It's just more like a paradigm shift. It's if you have been thinking about this in this way, I'm inviting you to think about it in a different way. Here's why, So practice. Let me know if that answers your question. This is a really good question because it's part of what I teach in my course. But I really want to give you guys some more of that value. So let me know if that answers your question or not, and then I'll try to explain it a different way. Okay, my loves, my friend is here. I have to go. Have an amazing rest of your night, and I cannot wait to see all your posts. Mwah. Bye.